Have you ever walked into a room, smiled at everyone, said you were fine, and deep down felt like you were crumbling? You keep functioning, keep moving, keep pretending, but inside, something feels off. Not just today, but for years. You're exhausted, not just from pain itself, but from constantly trying to avoid it, from pretending you're okay, from the fear that the next comment, the next disappointment, the next betrayal will break you. But what if I told you that the very pain you've been trying to avoid is the key to finally becoming free? That true strength, the kind that makes you untouchable, doesn't come from avoiding wounds, but from meeting them face to face. That's exactly what Carl Jung discovered. And in this video, we're going to explore his most powerful insights to show you how nothing and nobody will ever hurt you again. Not because life stops being painful, but because you stop being at war with yourself. Most of us spend our lives trying to manage the external world, trying to please others, fix problems, avoid conflict, protect our image. We think if we can be kind enough, strong enough, smart enough, we'll avoid being hurt. But Jung taught us a deeper truth. The pain we feel isn't in the events. It's in what those events awaken inside us. A betrayal doesn't hurt because someone left. It hurts because it touches our old fear of being abandoned. A harsh word doesn't sting because it's objectively true. It stings because it echoes something we've already believed about ourselves. Jung famously said, "We are not what happens to us. We are what we choose to become." That means healing doesn't begin by changing others. It begins by asking, what wound inside me is still bleeding? Maybe you're carrying childhood abandonment. Maybe you were told you had to be perfect to be loved. Maybe you never learned to feel safe just being who you are. And every situation that hurts you today is simply touching those places that never got to heal. We can't stop people from being careless or cruel, but we can stop believing that their actions define us. We can stop handing them the power to wound what we haven't yet understood within ourselves. The moment we bring awareness to what still hurts, we begin to reclaim our strength. We were taught to toughen up, to grow thicker skin, to not let things get to us. But toughness isn't the same as resilience. Many people walk around armored like warriors, stoic, controlled, invulnerable, and yet they break under the smallest emotional weight. Why? Because they've confused control for healing. Jung didn't advocate for suppressing emotions. He invited us to explore them. He believed that the unconscious, the parts of ourselves we try to hide, are not passive. They are alive, influencing everything: how we love, how we fear, how we react, how we run. He once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." If you keep attracting the same painful relationships, reacting with the same anger, shutting down the same way, that's not fate. That's your unconscious trying to get your attention. Think of it like this. When you have a cut and keep ignoring it, even a light touch will make you flinch. But when you clean the wound and let it heal, you can be touched without pain. That's the difference between living on autopilot and living consciously. When you develop self-awareness, you stop being thrown around by life. You begin to see your triggers as teachers. You no longer confuse discomfort with danger. And slowly you realize you don't need to control everything to feel safe. You just need to understand yourself. So what does it really mean to become untouchable? It doesn't mean that nothing affects you. It means that nothing can destroy you anymore because you've stopped being divided inside. Jung's process of individuation teaches us this. The path to wholeness isn't about fixing yourself. It's about integrating all the parts you've exiled, the fears, the insecurities, the needs you were ashamed of. When you welcome your shadow instead of hiding it, you become whole. And when you're whole, you're no longer fragile. Most people spend their lives chasing perfection. But perfection is brittle. It cracks under pressure. Wholeness is different. Wholeness is fluid. It allows sadness. It allows imperfection. It allows contradiction. And that's what makes it unshakable. You might still feel triggered. You might still have bad days. But when you've befriended all parts of yourself, those emotions no longer control you. You don't have to hide them. You don't have to be embarrassed by them. You meet them with compassion. You listen. You breathe. You choose your response. Imagine this. Someone criticizes you. And instead of collapsing or lashing out, you feel the reaction rise and you stay grounded. You know where that reaction comes from. You recognize the old story. And then you don't believe it anymore. That's what it means to be untouchable. Not invincible, not numb, but conscious, grounded, and free. Here's the part most people avoid. This path will break you open. And that's not a failure. That's the beginning. Because as you start healing, you will have to let go of the identity you built just to survive. The one that was always agreeable, the one that was always strong, the one that needed others to approve before you could feel okay. You'll start to realize you are not your image. You are not your trauma. You are not the roles you've played for love. You are not your reputation, your success, or your defense mechanisms. You are something deeper, wiser, and more whole than all of that. But unlearning those layers takes courage. You'll feel lonely, not because you're alone, but because fewer people will understand this version of you. They were connected to your mask. And now that the mask is falling, the room gets quiet. But don't mistake this quiet for emptiness. It's space, it's clarity. It's the beginning of living from your core, not from your performance. You'll no longer tolerate being treated poorly just to avoid discomfort. You'll stop negotiating your self-worth in the currency of validation. You'll move differently, speak differently, choose differently. And yes, some people will leave, but those who remain will meet the real you. And that is a love worth waiting for. Not because it completes you, but because you are already whole. Let's be honest, life isn't going to stop throwing challenges at you. People will still disappoint you. Things won't always go your way. But here's the difference. When you've made peace with your inner world, the outer world loses its grip. You still feel, but you don't get lost in it. You still ache, but it doesn't define you. You still fall, but you rise faster, stronger, wiser. This is the emotional immunity Jung spoke of, not built on resistance, but on radical self-acceptance. When you integrate your pain, your past, your shadow, the world stops having a place to hurt you because you've already been there. You've seen the wound. You've touched it. You've healed it. And now, there's just nothing left to fear. So take a moment and breathe. You're not behind. You're not broken. You're not late. You're awakening. Slowly, deeply, courageously. And that matters more than you know. And if you've come this far, maybe it's time to go even further. If this resonated with you, you're not alone. In fact, this is just the beginning. You've opened the door to a deeper understanding of yourself. And the next step is learning how your energy, your availability, shapes the way the world treats you. So here's the next question. What happens when you stop showing up for people who drain you? What shifts when you stop overextending just to be accepted? Carl Jung taught that transformation requires boundaries, not as rejection, but as sacred self-respect. And that's exactly what we explore in the next video. Watch When You Stop Being Available, Everything Changes, based on Carl Jung's teachings to continue this journey. Because once you understand your worth, everything around you begins to realign. You're closer than ever to becoming the version of yourself you've always been searching for. Don't stop now.